Hello and welcome everyone to August's NCTR Dialogue. My name is Kayla Johnston and I'll be your host today to talk about youth voices on the rise and specifically about a program called We Matter. Joining me today, we have three wonderful youth-based speakers coming from across Canada. First, in my bottom left-hand corner, we have Keenan Shako. Oh my God, I even practiced this. So Keenan Shanakapo from Rolling River First Nation, but is currently residing in Mistawasis First Nation, Saskatchewan. We also have Alyssa Trick, or Ali as she likes to be called, an Anishinaabe Kwe from Alderville First Nation, Ontario. And then finally, we don't have on screen, but will be joining us shortly, is Muk Muk Macoons, as he likes to be called, from Garden River First Nation. Now, before we start our roundtable and start to go around, I first want to give the kind of virtual microphone to our speakers just to give a quick introduction about yourself and how you became involved with We Matter. So first, I will extend my virtual mic to Keenan if you'd like to share first.
Alrighty. So my name is Keenan Bird from Rolling River First Nation, Manitoba, on Treaty 4 territory, and I currently reside in Mistawasis First Nation and on Treaty 6 territory. And I am currently educated in commerce, policy, IT, and policy. And how I became involved with Indigenous Youth Rise and slash We Matter is that I would at that I when I seen the application, I was already doing what the whole organization was doing beforehand, so I was just basically doing it out of the kindness of my heart from coast to coast, whether that be in whether that be on the in Vancouver Island, all the way to across the prairies, the mountain regions, to Ontario, even to the east coast, and all the way up into the Arctic territories, Yukon, Northwest Territories, and Nunavut. I was helping out all over, and recently, last year, I have been helping out throughout the whole world with uh, with my passion of just wanting to help people and give hope and provide opportunity wherever and whenever it is needed. And also, on my spare time, I like to do cultural stuff within the Indigenous communities, learning and practicing the culture, and a bit of the language of speaking a bit of the language, whether my own, be an Anishinaabe Ojibwe, and I've been adopted by the Cree and Nehewak people, and I sort of speak their language a bit, and I learn everywhere, wherever I get a chance to learn what to call the respective regions, language, and cultures, and honor those traditions.
Whenever I'm doing events, I then have to find very quickly where's my mute and unmute button. Otherwise, I'm holding people hostage. But thank you, Keenan, for that introduction. I'm now going to pull Muk Muk back into the stream here. Hello, Muk Muk. I'm glad that you can join us. We first wanted to get a quick introduction and share a little bit about how you got involved with We Matter.
Hi, I'm Marketing Macoons. Hopefully my mic's working right now. I got into We Matter from a colleague of mine, and he knows the work that I've been doing as a youth advocate through sports and all that. And I've been recently been focusing on being an advocate for mental health and suicide awareness. And yeah, just colleagues and all that, and just good work of what I do, and always sharing positivity.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. And I'm so glad we got your mic working. It's always a little hairy when it comes to virtual events, sometimes tech. And last but not least, Ali, I wanted to give you the virtual stage to give a quick intro and share a little bit about how you get involved with We Matter.
Hi, yeah, Ani. So, Asinawayasamuk Indigenous Cause, Alderville First Nation, and Donjaba, Minwa Ajijakin Dodam. So my name is Ali or Alyssa, and my spirit name is Asinawayasamuk. My family is from Alderville First Nation, but they've spread out all over Ontario now. North Bay, Peterborough area, Ottawa, Niagara Falls, we're all over. And I'm currently actually in BC, so I'm in Prince George now, and I just moved off of Quadacha First Nation. I was up there in the mountains for 2 years, and I'm Crane Clan. So I am the youth engagement coordinator for We Matter, and previously, before that, I was an ambassador of hope, which these two awesome guys are. And I got involved with We Matter, I want to say about 3 or 4 years ago. And one of my colleagues, we did a living with the land course in university. So we camped out in the bush for 2 weeks, and we got like a year's worth of credits within that time frame doing teachings and living off of the land. And she was posting about We Matter on Facebook, and because she was an ambassador of hope, and I messaged her so quick because I was like, this looks cool. What are you a part of? I love this. I love the message. It looks really awesome. And then now here I am. So I coordinate these two awesome guys along with about 24 other ambassadors of hope, and we're an Indigenous youth-led organization. So we work all across Canada, and we do we facilitate workshops with youth. We also work with anyone who works directly with Indigenous youth. So if you're a social worker, support worker, an educator, I'm also a full-time educator. I'm certified in Ontario and BC, but this is my main gig right now.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. So as I shared with our speakers, we're going to be doing a quick roundtable, about 15 minutes each, where I have a couple of questions for each one of our participants. But then after that, as always, we are going to be opening up the Q&A to those who are watching from Facebook or YouTube. We'll be pulling up your comments and questions on screen. So at any point in time, if you do have a question, feel free to put it in the chat, and we'll make sure that we save it right for the end. Now, with that, I wanted to share that today, well, actually in 2 days, the United Nations has declared August 12th as the International Youth Day. So we've all heard this phrase, the youth are our future. And today we're shining a light on some of those initiatives that are happening across the country. So as already shared, We Matter is an Indigenous youth-led national organization giving a voice to youth age 16 to 29. And that Ambassadors of Hope program has role models all across Canada, sharing those messages of hope, culture, and strength within all those community spaces and regions. And so I first wanted to open up the kind of stage back to Ali, really to discuss a little bit about youth empowerment. How do you set up those ambassadors, and thus the ambassadors set up those youth for empowerment and feeling strong that they can make that difference to spread that message of hope?
Oh gosh, that's a loaded question. Okay, I think I'm gonna start with just providing a safe space. That's a huge thing in any of the work that we do, and I think in any Indigenous space that you're in or occupying, you need to provide that safe space. And we are trauma informed, and we also go off of a strength-based approach when we are, whether we're working together or we're working with other youth or anyone who works with youth, just highlighting each and everyone's gifts. So we have ambassadors all over Canada, and each one of them has their own gifts. And so it's kind of my job to help them get the training that they need and empower them to take up all of that space that they belong in, and that we all belong in. being vulnerable, that's a hard one. A lot of people shy away from hard conversations. And what's really cool about our organization is we share our stories. So we also story tell, and part of your story and sharing that allows you to get open and connect with other people on a totally different level. And I think we do that really well. I hope we do. That's partly why I wanted to get involved with We Matter. I mean, when even just my first year as an ambassador, just seeing the support that we have, like you've just now gained a whole new family when you're working with We Matter, and you have friends and aunties now all over Canada. And we just support each other in such a beautiful way. And I think that really translates into the work that we do.
And then kind of a follow-up question. How do you really kind of create a safe space? What goes into, I guess, the construction or kind of the development to ensure there is a safe space for the ambassadors, but also the youth that they're working with?
So I'm an energy person. I feel like a lot of people are nowadays. And a lot of it just comes from that intention and being your authentic self. When you're able to be open and vulnerable and you are just truly yourself, people tend to mirror that. And it can create this beautiful space where, you have support and you have people listening, and you're not listening to just respond. You're actually listening to understand. And I think coming from that awareness to full understanding translates in those spaces. Yeah, I mean, I don't think just anyone could create a safe space. I think it takes time and it takes practice. And I feel like it's different with anyone that you're working with. So a lot of it has to do with the education too, and making sure that you're building relationships. I know a lot of people who try to work with Indigenous organizations or Indigenous youth, they often you need to build that relationship first. It's not just like a quick cold call. Hey, I want you to do this. Come, it kind of feels tokenized that way. Like, okay, we've got our Indigenous speaker for this event. When you build those relationships and you actually take that time and you have that mutual respect that way, I think that translates so much better in those spaces.
Kind of building off of that, what would you say are kind of the core components or pieces that go with building or creating that relationship with communities, but also with that youth? Is there, say, something that's you see usually missing that people don't think of when building those relationships?
Yeah. So we live in a hustle and bustle work culture. We're so go, go, go all the time. And we're just not like that in community. Um, it seems so like out of date, but instead of just calling someone at the band office that you want to connect with the speaker or something, actually going there in person, meeting them, introducing yourself, and like, hey, can instead of having a Zoom call or a phone call, and I know that's hard for some people, like location wise and stuff, but if you're able to go in person and show them who you are and show them that intention, and that you actually are coming from that space where I want to get to know you, and you're not just like, hey, I need you for this one thing. It's that building relationship, like, hey, can we grab a tea? We'll sit down and we can talk about maybe what we can offer, how we could make this a partnership. And every community has their own specific needs too, so making sure that you're being culturally understanding as well. You're not going to just go to any community and try, if they're going through a hard time. I know a lot of our northern communities are struggling with isolation. So you're not just going to insert yourself that way. So you kind of bring yourself at a lot slower of a pace. So definitely, even just like I'm sure lots of people have experienced it, but coming with that understanding that when you are partnering with people from community, that it's a slower process than you think it is because of that relationship building. And when you do that, it happens so much more naturally and organic, and it tends to translate in way more beautiful ways. And there's lots of other room for opportunities and connection that way when you're allowing that space and that patience.
Now, when it comes to kind of this passion for the work, what really kind of guided you to do this kind of work, and really from the notes and information that I have, kind of working in the, I guess, in the environment, in the outdoor education on the land?
Okay, so I've always been interested in teaching. That was something that I wanted to do when I was really young. I just know I wanted to work with youth. Then I got into high school. I kind of got into leadership, and that's where I really started that leadership journey. I got into university, started taking up a lot of space, and we have our Indigenous student circle. So I was at Laurentian University. I was on Senate that way, and so I kind of went backwards. I first started up with policy, Senate, and understood that world first, and then I got into face-to-face, in-person, on the field work, and started my teaching journey. I unfortunately started my teaching journey on a really good path. So in the middle of the pandemic, I moved out to Quadacha First Nation, northern BC. One of my girlfriends from university, she was working there, and she's like, hey, we got a job. I think you'd be great for this. And it is just unlike any other school or community that you could work in. I had an amazing class of 12 students, and the school emphasized outdoor education. And that was my girlfriend who was teaching that. She actually created the program with the school. So we got to co-teach outdoor education. We did 3 hours on the land for class time. And then we would do mountain trips. We do camping trips. Like, we throw the kids in the skimmer. We do a 4-hour sled ride out to Fox Pass, and we were camping in like negative 40, 50 weather, and we got a moose, and we got to teach the kids how to do that. And I think really that's where my passion started, and just really got kicked into gear was when I moved out there. And it, like, ever since I did that, it just made my passion for working with youth that much stronger. So I ended up taking a new direction with We Matter, and now I'm doing this. So I'm working with adults now instead of the young hormone monsters, I like to call them. But I think it's just so beautiful seeing those different ways that, connecting youth on the land, connecting community, and there's just so much opportunity for some really awesome core memories to be made. And I just think it's a lot of teachers struggle with how they can fit culture into curriculum without understanding that our culture is the curriculum, and that there's so much that you can learn and utilize just within a classroom and bringing the kids outside that way. So, yeah.
And then I have one last question before I move on to one of our next speakers, and that is, with the work that you've done so far with the ambassadors and with youth directly, do you feel that youth voices are being heard, and what can we do to ensure that they are being heard?
Okay, I want to answer this correctly. I can't speak for every youth, so I can only speak for myself. And through my own experiences and just kind of what I've experienced with We Matter, in our space, I truly do feel that our youth are heard. Just from feedback and from working with the organization for so long now, that is the whole reason why I ended up leaving teaching, was because I had never felt so supported, understood, and just given that space to truly be myself and use my gifts and my niche in ways that lift me up and empower me up as a youth. And it only makes you want to bring more and more people into that space. So that's where my role is really unique. And I love that because that's what I get to do. I get to lift up other Indigenous youth and I get to support them. I get to help them with whatever they might need. And if we can't figure it out together, we have a whole team behind us that can help us figure out and find a solution. And I think that we're definitely on the right path. Like we see more and more youth every day now taking up space and starting their own organizations and doing talks like this. Like, I think we're definitely in a really good direction. Whether or not everyone's being heard, I can't speak to that. But I know definitely within our space and a lot of the different spaces that I've seen, we're definitely headed in a really good direction. And I think more and more now people need to start listening to our youth because these are our future leaders. These are our future language speakers. These are, our future caretakers and our knowledge keepers, our future elders, and just to honor their space and their voice and giving them those seats to take up and educate them too. I mean, I'm all for educating and getting everyone, because the more and more of us that become educated, the more spaces that we can take up. And just being able to see, like, what I would love to see is organizations and companies and education just like becoming more accessible and more digestible. And more attainable too, because a lot of the time, like, we have so many remote and isolated communities, and to just throw them into university or college without understanding that culture shock is it just sucks seeing that happen. And I'll actually highlight again, like Claracha First Nation, they have this transitions program. So they get to stay in community, they do classes online, and they kind of get to see, like what the course load would look like. And then they can make that decision if they want to continue their next year out of community. So, just like having more spaces like that for Indigenous youth so that they can feel more heard and like they can feel like they're set up to succeed. Because a lot of the time I feel like, when you're coming into the city, it's a lot harder.
Thank you so much for sharing. We'll wrap back around again when we do kind of the open Q&A. And I can't remember if I already shared, but for our other panelists, participants, you're more than welcome. If you like the sound of a question and you want to add your comments, you're more than welcome to do so. So I'm gonna turn my attention to our panelist Muk here, and wanted to ask, you started working as an advocate for youth sport. How did that happen? How did it evolve? How did you get involved?
Sorry, because I seen it firsthand with the other person, mental health, that some substance abuse. I've seen it firsthand. I've been through it and all that. But, and yeah, but
It looks like Buck stream dropped for a second. It's come back. I'll give it a moment. You are coming up a little choppy in your reply. When you first introduced yourself, it was nice and clear. So I think it might just be the strength of the Wi-Fi, I'm guessing.
yeah,
My suggestion, Mukmuk, if you're able to join audio via your telephone, maybe we can just have your audio, and that might be just a stronger signal than the video alone. So, you know what? Let's take pause and we'll wrap around. I'll turn my attention to Keenan and start asking while we work on solving our little tech challenge there. I'm just looking for my questions for you, Keenan. All right. So, in your introduction, you talked a little bit about your work around international aspects or components. And I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about what you've been working on at that international level and kind of what your focus is.
Alrighty. So, the what to call? What I've been working on the international level is basically to break it all down. Is I've been working on advocating for Indigenous people, utilizing the SDGs, the UNDRIP action plan, and so forth. Like to have those back up what I am doing. So I have met. I like to call other Indigenous people my brothers and sisters out there, whether they're from the east, west, all the way to up in the Arctic, down south. So that's how I see it, as another extension of my family, that we're all one and we're coming together in unity. As like the elders said it back, as I said with elders, that the world is going to be coming, and never expected myself in these places, but I'm happy that I'm taking part. I'm doing my role, and what I've been doing is I've been I've been networking from across the Arctic, mostly, whether they be the Indigenous people in Norway, let's see, Iceland, Greenland, to the U.S., uh, both Alaska and well, in the main body of the U.S., to now even stretching to the Indigenous people in New Zealand. And one of my projects I have been working on the side is um, a work a work trip program with the Indigenous people down in New Zealand, for the Indigenous people of Canada, to Indigenous, Métis, and Inuit, to go exchange cultures and work and get to know each other, unite, well, come in unity. And the bigger goal is to have all Indigenous people to be united.
So another piece that was shared in some of the talks that you had with Shelby and Skylar was a focus on STG for quality to education. Would you be able to explain a little bit about what that means and why it's important?
Okay. For the SDG, quality to education, well, as you know, throughout Canada, whether you be urban, remote, or even in a community, a first, well, Indigenous community or your own, the quality is all over the place, depending where you are, where you're requiring education. Oh, okay. So when SDG 4, how I implement that for change, well, social change, is bringing the quality. Say if you're all the way in the Arctic, it's all remote, and there's not that much, I would say, not that much resources up in there, but my idea is for the quality education, what they have in the urban centers, well, the urban, whether you be in the city, small city, whatever, to bring that quality all the way into remote communities, or even a First Nation community, to bring up that have the same opportunities that the urban have in and many Indigenous communities and remote communities. Having that, having, I guess, from my background, would be, uh, I I lived a similar life. I lived in a I wouldn't say isolated, but it was far enough to you have to travel an hour, maybe 2 hours, depending, just to the nearest city, city or urban area to even get. And with inflation these days, it's like it's really high to even just to get get over there, get your basic necessities, and that bring my, yeah, basic necessities. Even then, I thought about education, like how is this gonna affect over here because the quality when I moved to the city in my later teen years, near the end of high school, is that the quality will really went up in education when I moved. So even in the communities that is bringing the opportunity and the quality to educate yourself, or the if the youth have if they're willing and determined and they have that mindset, help bring hope to their community is through education, because that is, well, as they say here on the prairies, education is the new buffalo for the people.
I'm going to build on my question there, and that is, what do you think is the resource that would really assist in raising that quality of education? And what I'll put in my little thought is, do you think it's access to, high-speed internet? I heard some Inuit communities talk about the lack of having internet access really limits the connection given the remoteness of many communities. So I'm wondering if I could get your thoughts on what's the resource or something that could really improve that quality of education.
Okay. So the for that actually is, yeah, I would say the internet would be is big. Well, nowadays post pandemic, well, there wasn't really improvements, but now after the pandemic, it really changed up the world, I would say, in education. Now that you have, well, there's what is that, Starlink, now that you could get fast quality internet. Like, I'm in a community right now in that's 2 hours away from the nearest city in any direction, but having Starlink, I could have opportunities to be on this video chat with high speeds, and that's a amazing resource to have up north, as well as to my fellow brothers and sisters, my friends, so many people that I met up there. This is one of the best, well, the best resource that I could have. It gives me access to opportunities that I could learn, even learning independent stuff. You could even go to university online. You could get your degree that way. Through well, that brings really good quality of access to education, because you're educating yourself. That could educate the community of having this resource, even utilizing the resource into like say a community center, or into a room that what you want to learn, or even career planning, life transitions. There's actually stuff out there then you could utilize, and then having the access to this resource will improve the quality of education no matter where you are in the world. You could be across the seas, you could be in the Arctic, you could be anywhere, and having this internet is the best resource that there is today, that I could think of at this moment. And I've seen so many people succeed from this resource.
Thank you. My next question is, when working with youth and when working on these kind of large scale, kind of international based, networking and projects, how do you work with elders and use elders' teachings in kind of that support and in kind of this work?
Oh, okay. Oh, that's a really easy question. uh, Not to just gloat with confidence, but for me, I always looked at it differently. I'm more like the outlier, the outside thinker. But working with the elders, well, most of my life, even like after a work day or even on the weekend during my free time, working with the elders, I utilize their teachings from uh, what to call. It's basically humility with all honestly, that unconditional love of each other. One of the words I bring around with me is sagituin, is that unconditional love for one each other, because we're all in the same world, and that's how I bring it up to the international scale of level of things. Is that we could all we may speak different languages, may come from a different background, but we could all work in unity together, no matter what our backgrounds may be. With that Sagit to win, we could work with each other with that unconditional love to have a better tomorrow, a better future. Always improving, just like on oneself. We, it's just like we all have a part. Some of us may have be an expert in things. Well, just like I'm gonna use the sweat lodge for an example. Well, the sweat lodge is built. Everyone has their role in there. There's the people running it, to the people even just helping out on the outside. Just being there is enough, more than enough, actually. Making that commitment to even that all of us are doing our role together, and how that transitions to the work I'm doing, and everyone uh, that one role has a special place in everywhere. You could utilize that in, say, like an organization. Someone's really good at HR, someone's really good at communicating, someone's really good at media. Same like going back to our lodges. It's just like doing it with a good heart and good intentions is really amazing. And that's how I utilize the elders' teaching and working with community, well, many communities.
I've got one last question for you before we tune in and see if Muck Muck can join us back in again. And that is, working again on that international scale, what's a lesson that you've learned so far networking with all these different nations that you'd like to bring back and have, or I should say, have brought back that you've utilized here?
Oh, this one's really. Oh, it's an easy but difficult question to answer. Just like Ali said there, I want to answer it right, but okay, I'll probably just speak. What I learned was when I got to the international level of things of working with the world is I utilized what I learned on the grassroots level and ceremony lots is settling down to talk to them with one on one, whether I'll bring up my phone right here, using like this, like Google Translate if they're not English speaking. So when I speak to people like that, make it consistent and from the heart. That's how you could notice the atmosphere in how we're communicating to each other, whether they be speaking Danish or Norwegian or even like well, whatever their English levels may be. But when speaking to that, it's and communicating that back to, you got to think about what message you're bringing back to the people and what their message is on their side. When I bring back messages, well, every time I do bring back messages, I think of what they want for the future, their future goals, basically, and how can I convey that to align our goals. What I really don't look for differences, I look for similarities in everyone. the best sides of people, the best sides of no matter where they're from. So that would be, I would say, the similarity I've been coming across is like our voices need to be heard, and while they are being heard, it's a slow process, but it's slowly getting there. And just like the elders said, well, elders I sat with, is that we are going to be one of the leaders of the world pretty soon, and I could see that happening. Being a part of the seventh generation, helping leaders. I'm always thinking about the children, and well, and future generations. Well, 7 generations ahead. How can I set this? How I can set this up in my expertise to help the next person that will take the torch, and it will be easy to read and understand. I already would have done my work on my ends, and someone to learn and keep going from the heart with always community in mind and community of the world.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Keenan, for sharing your thoughts. We'll wrap back around again when we do the roundtable. I'm going to invite Mukmak back to our stream. I'm going to have my fingers crossed. This is going to be nice and smooth. Welcome back.
Glad to be back.
Very exciting. It was no delays there. So I'm going to wrap it back around to our first question, which was, you started working as an advocate in youth sport. How did that come about? How did that evolve?
That kind of evolved from my older sister playing sports, and I don't know, I just took on sports head on and tried my best, and I just noticed like the people younger than me looking up to me, and I just always try my best to get the furthest that I could. And furthest that I could was college and a couple tryouts with professional teams. And now, like, I'm honored that I went through that, and now it fell through. But I wish I can go back and do I don't know, do better, I guess, or change a few things. But now I'm a mental health, suicide awareness advocate now, because one, sports can put you through a lot mentally, and especially going through the academic system wise through sports. Always was raised like kind of like Coach Carter, if anybody has watched that. Student comes first before the athlete. So to live in both worlds of sports and academically is really tough and can put on a strain on your mental health. So yeah, that's.
Thank you for this next piece. Based upon some of those chats that were had, it says you would like to establish a youth council in your community. Would you be able to share a little bit more about those efforts and how it's going?
Yes, those efforts are currently rolling right now. They're in the process. Hopefully I can get it at least started before next election, because that's coming up soon. And yeah, right now we're at the point of putting on social media soon. So to get our volunteers, our selectees that are within the communities, and yeah, right now it's rolling to get started. So we're almost there.
Following up with that question, and what do you hope this council is going to do, and what they're going to be able to address?
What I hope they're able to do is kind of like what We Matter is doing. to support each other as a community, as a youth, because we all need to be here for each other and as a community. Because I notice in my community is kind of divided based on families and family, kind of like parents and all that divided themselves and all that. So hopefully we can bring the community back together as one and bring more into cultural wise as well. Bring back our culture.
There's me searching for my mute unmute button. There's this good research paper that was released in 2012 that I just wanted to briefly share, where they were looking for stories about reconciliation, but also resilience, really. What does resilience mean from the Indigenous perspective? And for one group that did the study in Ganawage, they found there were distinct aspects for different age groups and generations, shared aspects. The biggest challenge was something called this shift to materialism, or this one-minded kind of thought of just capitalism and material gain. But the fourth thing I wanted to share is called the connection of one-mindedness. And what they said is, despite the differences between all the generations, they found even if there were challenges, in general, what they found is members of communities wanted the same thing at the core principle of it, which is culture and language revitalization and community connectedness, which, as we know, over the past 150 years, we've been split up and divided exactly that through these different systems of colonization and assimilation. And so in this really wonderful paper, it talks about if we can just find that ability to reconnect with those core principles and values that are shared between all community members, that's really what gets those generations working together. And so that was a long kind of answer to a question I'm leading up to, which is, what do you think is kind of the biggest obstacle or barrier so far when it comes to getting youth involved or encourage them to kind of participate in councils or these sorts of kind of I would say groupings civic engagement means to help improve community?
Honestly, for just their own personal life, their own career, because everybody works. So sometimes they're not be able to come to these meetings or ceremonies, and or even just celebrations like powwows, round dances. Personal life, career life, is sometimes gets in the way.
My next set of questions are related to kind of this passion that you have looking to create this nonprofit that would support local artists through music and art. I'm wondering if you might share a little bit about that kind of pathway you're looking into too.
That pathway kind of started when I was like little. I was always into music. I grew up learning like from our music, traditional music, to let's say, let's say like 1920s to now. I'm just a music head, but I don't do my own music. I thought about doing it a couple times, and yeah, there's like that passion is just, I don't know, just flared in me, that for no reason it just flared in me. Yeah.
And then connected to that, working in collaboration, I'm wondering if you can tell or share your thoughts on what it's like to wanting to try to get existing organizations to kind of band together, work together for a same goal.
That just goes with what I said earlier about we're a community. We should work as a community, and I don't know, just as a community, and
Yeah.
Wonderful. That's great. Well, we've now completed kind of our little interviews with each one of our panelists. So I just want to encourage, as you see the little ticker at the bottom, if you do have any questions from where you're watching, please feel free to put it in the chat. But with that, I have a series of questions for all of my panelists. You're more than welcome to answer one or decide that's not the question for me. And the first one is connected to the program We Matter. So if a young person wants to get involved with We Matter or the We Matter Ambassadors of Hope program, kind of what can they do? What are your best suggestions on how to get involved?
Yeah, I'll speak to that. So there's actually a lot of different ways that you can get involved with We Matter. First way is every year we have a new cohort of Ambassadors of Hope. Our applications open up in March. You can apply, you send in a little video of yourself, you answer some questions. Sometimes the link doesn't work, so you can also just email it to me, hopeambassadors@wemattercampaign.org. And we put in your application there, and we do kind of like a score basis for scoring the applications. That's if you have the capacity to be doing traveling, if you want to get trained in facilitating conversations, having engagements like this. If that is kind of more of your passion, you doing like school assemblies, conferences, that type thing, that's the best way to get involved with We Matter, through that avenue. Then we also have mini grants. So we open them up, I want to say every like 3 months maybe. But we have different grants that you can apply for. So we actually just recently did a regalia grant. It was $700. We had over, oh my gosh, I want to say it was like over 2,000 people that applied. And I think we gave out, Natanis is going to get mad at me if I say it wrong. I want to say we actually gave out around 2,000 grants, and she's still doing all of that. That's a long process. We're only like a team of 7, so we're still trying to keep up with that. But there's other grants too. So if you want to do a beading workshop, you can do it virtually or in your community. If you want to do hide tanning, if you want to do a yoga event, if you want to buy some Indigenous books for your classroom, any kind of event that you could possibly think of, will help you. We'll give you the funds. We'll help you get it organized. You can connect with me, and you can take that support even a step further, and I can help you in those planning processes, and you submit your receipts. So we do $1,000 and $2,000 grants for those. So if you need money for like the food, if you want door prizes, if you need honorariums for an elder, those are all things that you can use that grant money for. And then we also have resources like our toolkits. So we have toolkits for kids, for youth, for support workers, and for educators. And each one looks a little bit different. So our educator toolkit would be for a teacher. They can, there's lesson plans in there, and it just kind of shows you different ways that you could bring We Matter into your classroom. And then we have the Indigenous Youth Toolkit. We're actually currently editing it right now. So it's going to look a little bit different than when you would download it right now. So we do distribution, we send those out, and then you also can download it yourself. So if you're a youth and you want to go through that yourself, and then you can share that with other youth as well that you're surrounded with. And we have our Two-Spirit Dictionary. So this is like a new cool initiative that we recently launched, and it is on, you can get it on our website. And it's all different definitions of what Two-Spirit means to different Two-Spirit people. And we've just kind of collected that all together. And it's this beautiful dictionary of just what it means to be a Two-Spirit person, and how it's different for everyone. And that's okay. And I want to say, so then we also have special projects and stuff too. So we have Shelby Thomas and Jenna Lay. I hope I'm saying her name correct. I'm seeing you nod, so I'm hoping I did. So they're actually working on like a collective healing guide, and then they just they're still kind of finishing up our pathfinding guides. So we do different special projects like that as well. And we always need writers and researchers for different things like that. So there's lots of different ways to get involved. And if anyone does want to get involved, you can always just message or email info@wemattercampaign.org, or you could message us on social media, or shoot me a message too, and find out different ways that you can get involved. Whew.
I was going to say that was a long one. That was very full, get the full breadth of all the different programs and what's available. Linking to that question.
Oh, I was gonna add on to that.
Please.
Okay, so even with all that, to get one of the ambassadors of hope to come to your community, all you have to do is just reach out via email or social medias, even LinkedIn, message us, and we could get the ball rolling from there. Whatever needs to be, it could be planned ahead. And I'll use my example. I went up to the Northwest Territories to do a tour and did a conference and went to many communities up there. Is that I got in contact with uh Western Western Arctic Youth Collective and Inuvik Justice to go speak with communities and conferences up there. And that's all started with the initiative of having the message, and we worked everything out, and how how me and another ambassador spoke at schools, conferences, even like community centers. That's how it all starts. Just taking the initiative to reach out.
And actually, that leads me into the question that was a little bit broader, which was, when it comes to these events, what is a really memorable engagement or, travel experience or group of youth that you worked with when it comes to the Youth Ambassadors program here?
So Muck is new this year. He hasn't done any engagements in community yet, but he did attend our Hope Forum in Nova Scotia. For me, though, my most memorable was Chisasibi Cree First Nation. I did that with one of my co-ambassadors, Kihu, and it was just unlike any other experience. I mean, I was coming from a remote community where 11 hours, like on a logging road from the closest town, no cell service, and we take like 6 bush planes to this place. We're 18 hours north of Montreal, and I'm thinking that I'm just gonna land in this, like little village like Quaracha, and oh my gosh, it was like a full-on giant city in the middle of nowhere. I was just like so amazed. It was so awesome to connect with the youth there, and we worked with the student council, and they had like the stance going on too, and there was a group of students coming back from ice fishing, and they have a hockey rink, they have a hospital, like they've got cell service, paved roads, like everyone's got a teepee in their yard. It was just the coolest thing to ever see. I mean, I know they have a lot of struggles over there too, and we were working a lot with the youth and working through those challenges. But oh, it was just so lovely to see such a remote community having those kinds of opportunities. And it was just like, this is what I want for all of our remote communities, is just having that access and resources. And that was just so memorable.
Okay, I'll build off of there. From my experience was, I already said it before that I went up to the Northwest Territories. That was the most memorable experience I had, is from going all the way to the Northwest Territories. I'm from a small community. Just it's like, I'll go up north, even though it it was during the dead of winter and what winter months. I remember my younger self saying, "I won't go up to the Arctic when it's winter, maybe the summer." but but I took the initiative. It's like, why not? Let's go. Let's new things, when I went up there, I was I at first I thought it was the during the months of the 24 hour of no sunlight. So I was very excited when I got up there. I was so happy. I was kind of disappointed at first, but maybe I'll go up there when it happens because I was expecting it to be so dark up there. But when I got up there, the community was like the first day off the plane that I was start walked around the community of Inuvik in north in the Northwest Territories, and then it that totally blew my mind up there. I was like, they have a KFC. I was like, oh, so I bought, and they have a Pizza Hut. They have all this and that. That just blew my mind. Even going to the conference in Yellowknife there, I did not know there was a Walmart up there. I thought like it would be a small community, well, small, kind of like a small town. But as soon as I was like, they have a Starbucks. I was like, they have A&W, Subway. I was like, oh, I just, even when I went up the furthest north that I went into my life was Sax Harbor on Victoria Island in Northwest Territories. It was like, I loved it up there. Every time I went out, like I expected it to be like 50 below, 50, 60 below. But when I got up there, it's like, huh, it's just like back home. It's like I could stand this weather. I could live here. It's pretty good. I because I live on the prairies, so it's already 30 below. Oh, well, 30 below, no matter if it's above or below. So I was like, nothing really changed when I went up there. I just loved the community up there, even to the community itself, the people that it blew my mind that the same music I listen to, they listen to up there. Like even have opportunities, like it was a really meaningful engagement, and I loved every moment that I was up there. And I speak to this so to many communities because it brings back a lot of joy to my heart. And I was even sitting with the youth there, just talking about goals, future, what they want in life. And I said, what when the next call out for the AOH is like, come apply. It's like get involved. It's like we need people like you, and you could. There's so much. The future is limitless.
Thank you so much. I have an even broader question, so you can take it many different directions. And it's in this line of work, engaging with youth, looking to the future. Sometimes it can feel uncertain. Sometimes with what we see around the world, either environmentally or socially, which can be a downer. And so my question is, what gives you hope? What's something that gives you this direction or line that this is the kind of work I want to engage in? Yes, I want to empower youth. Yes, I want to do this. What gives you that hope and strength to do it?
Um, well, I guess I'll say something since the other two went. Um, for me, it is just a smile on our face and you know seeing our youth strive in places where, let's say, colonizers say we wouldn't. Like for the academic system, I know we still face racial issues there. Sometimes even in sports, we still face racial issues there. And yeah, just smile on our face and someone to look up to say, hey, if they can do it from where I'm from or in the same situation, I can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was so nice, Muck. I agree too, I feel like a lot of the time when I'm trying to figure out what my motivations are, they often change depending on what it is. But I think the biggest thing is just like knowing and remembering where you come from and wanting that better life for, for the next generations and for my kids, my future kids, and future grandchildren and theirs. Like I grew up in poverty. My dad is on his own journey. Um, and alcohol and addictions, it's really prevalent in my family, and I lost my brother really young. So I think it's just like I don't ever want another youth to have to go through those challenges that I did, because it was hard to fight my way out of it. And it's still a daily struggle every day in different ways, like in whether it's in romantic relationships or friendships or navigating like work life balance. There's so much against us already, and I'm just committed to making more space and making more opportunity and uplifting other people, because that's what I needed when I was younger and I had to do that myself. So I think that's my biggest thing that gives me hope, is just knowing that there are like-minded people just like me who are trying to build the same thing. And I think that's what's beautiful about We Matter too, is we're all across Canada and we all have that same mission, and it's uplifting youth and showing them that they do matter.
Okay, I'll finish her off. Okay, but what gives me hope is and the motivation to do this. Well, I come from a multi-generational household where there's 15 people all in the same house. From I have nieces, nephews, to siblings, aunties, to even the older. There's so many people in this house, the household that I live in. But uh, what brings me is that building and I know there's many situations out there that um, yeah, there's so many people with situations out there similar, but I want to provide an opportunity to them, give them a chance, just like a chance I really haven't, well, that I had the opportunity, even though searched boundless. There would be nights I would be till 5 in the morning looking for an opportunity, something different, something out there to help me in this world. Even when I did move away from my home, that the opportunity still came, and that I could relay that back to well, not my community and many other communities I've been a part of. That it is there. The word could be sent out far and wide. That everyone has the same opportunities that I had, and that I share back to them. And that what gives me hope, because I want to help the people that were in the similar situations that I have been in.
Thank you so much. We're almost at the end of our time together, so I have two questions that I'm going to marry together here. One is, what does it mean to have a voice and use your voice to support others? And then, using your voice now, what message do you want to leave with the audience today?
Can you repeat that?
I sure can. I smushed them together, and that was, what does it mean to have a voice, to use that voice to support others? And then the attaches, what message do you want to leave people with today?
Um, to have a voice to help others is like having a voice to stand up for yourself and the people behind you, knowing their struggles, knowing their issues, especially when they come to you. And I guess for the second piece of your question, the message I'll leave behind is don't be afraid of challenges. Don't be afraid of let's say if you have a bully, don't be afraid of them. Stand up for yourself and take the right road. No, don't inflict drama when there's no extra drama to be needed. And yeah, just stand up for yourself and speak up when you need to. And yeah, I guess that's most all I got.
Thanks so much, Mukmuk.
I can go next if Keenan's still thinking. I think the biggest thing that I want to leave with today just is knowing when to use your voice and like who is deserving of it. My childhood was spent in this ball of rage, fighting anyone and everyone I could who could listen, and about what youth deserve and what Indigenous people deserve. And I just wasted so much time and energy talking to the wrong people and coming from that place of anger. And I think just learning how to channel that energy in a positive way, and knowing where you are and who's around you, reading the room, and just like, yeah, giving people who deserve to hear your voice that voice, and making sure that you're coming from that place of intention. And I kind of think of like these different engagements like I do, with my beadwork. Like I will never bead when I'm in a negative space, even though it's medicine for me. I don't ever want to put that energy out onto someone. So I think that self-advocacy piece for yourself and making sure that you're taking care of yourself is so important, because you can't pour from an empty cup. And with the work that we do, and often the work that our youth are getting into, it's draining and it's exhausting. And if you're not taking care of yourself, then you can't do the work. You just can't. It's not sustainable. So I think those are the two biggest things. And I'll do our cliche. I have to do it. I matter, you matter, and we matter.
Thank you, Ali. And so the last but not least, Keenan, if you have any closing remarks that you have for this question, the floor is yours.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I love that. What? Okay. All right. Already. Okay. Yeah, just using stalling words, but but oh, for youth voice, Indigenous youth voices. For me, how I convey that is I take the time all the time just to go speak with them. Like whether the one person goes away from the group and I go sit with them, ask them the mental health questions and whatnot, etc. Saying what's going on and how can this be better and how and whatnot. So because if one person's, there's probably others behind them that are feeling the exact same way. And even when I'm hearing those messages, I think about it's not just the one person in this one one place in time. There's probably others all everywhere that I want to bring up the issue that they're having and keep talking about it more, because that's one of the best ways of walking walking uh on this medicine journey of healing. Whatever they went through, we're all in this together and whatnot. But one of the main things I want to leave here with, that there's so much opportunity and ways to reconnect with culture nowadays that it is, as the elders said before, it was sleeping, now it's waking up. We are becoming the voice. We are one of the fastest well, fastest growing populations growing out there. Our voices are becoming everywhere, whether they be in movies, whether they be here, whether in all aspects of everywhere in this world. We're becoming like such an amazing and powerful powerful voice. Even the youth are relaying that to the leaders, that they are becoming the leaders of tomorrow already. We could already see that. And yes, all of us are, I just say to the youth, uh, what would you do when the time comes when you are in these positions? Because uh yeah, what are you gonna do? And we could, and I'm here, well, I'm only one person, but there's many others ready to help out the next one. We could help teach you along this way if you so choose to walk this path.
Thank you so much to all of my panelists. It was great to have you here over the past hour. Unfortunately, we've come to the end of our conversation. On behalf of the National Center for Truth and Reconciliation, thank you also to the audience who joined us here today. Watch for news on the next NCTR dialogue happening in the coming months, and I hope to see you there. But before I go, I really liked, as you said, the cheesy, was it I matter, you matter, we matter? There we go. I like that a lot. Just as Keenan said, that's perfect. A great way to end off. So I want to thank everyone. Hi, and we'll see you at the next dialogue.